Today I'm with Eddie Canales. Eddie has a charity called Gridiron Heroes. Eddie, for folks that have not heard of it, tell us what the mission of Gridiron Heroes is.
Well, Gridiron Heroes works with athletes that have suffered spinal cord injuries playing high school football. And how we started the organization was after my son Chris, suffered a spinal injury, broke his neck playing football. We wanted to be there for other families that had gone through the same situation. When Chris got hurt, there was really no help. Coaches didn't know what to do, where to go, how his life was going to change, how the family life was going to change. So as we were still having to deal with going through some of the issues that we had to deal with, we realized that there was a shortfall in the long-term support for these young athletes. And so how we actually started it was when Chris was going through some ups and downs, some depression had hit. He had just reached his 1-year anniversary date of his injury. He didn't want to get out of the house, didn't want to take his medicines and stuff. And I said, let's get out of the house. Let's go and go watch a football game. A state championship game was coming into San Antonio, went to the Alamo Dome, and 45 minutes later, we actually witnessed another young man go down with a spinal injury, Corey Fulbright from Everman High School. But when Chris saw that young man being put on the cart and being taken off, we had been watching through binoculars and didn't see any movement in his hands. And so Chris knew right away. And the first thing he did was turn to me and said, "Dad, we've got to go help him. I know what he's going to go through. You know what the family's going to go through." And that was the inspiration behind starting Gridiron Heroes. The Lord works in a lot of different ways. Chris was at his lowest point, but gave him something else to focus on, another individual that he could reach out to help, something that they shared. And so it was important for us to be there for that family. We knew that this was going to be our mission, our I guess if you want to call it, blessing for us, because it did help Chris as he started working with the athletes and other individuals, and it got him focusing on helping someone else, not focusing on himself. So it changed our lives. Not only did we help the families that we're dealing with, but it changed our lives as well, and Chris's life as well. It gave us a purpose, basically. That was the word I was looking for. It actually gave us a purpose, being there for that young man and that family.
What are some of the key things you do to help a family like this?
Well, when we initially get the call, we wanted just to go and visit with the family, get a chance to kind of understand where they're at, and that's that's hard sometimes. I kind of get my P's and Q's from the trainer or the coach who's dealing with that athlete. When the family's starting to ask more about a spinal injury and trying to get answers about the spinal injury, that's usually when we know that we need to go in and visit with the family. We go there to make sure that the case manager is doing their job to help that family. There's a lot of times that the family doesn't even know who the case manager is. We'll go and make sure that all the paperwork is being filled out, which is very important. A lot of times what happens is that it's not retroactive to try to get signed up for making sure you're going to get Social Security, some of the state aids that you can qualify for. All of it is based on when the paperwork is submitted, not necessarily when you had the injury. So it's important for us to guide them to make sure that they're getting the paperwork done that they need to be done. And then once we know a little bit more about the family, we'll start working with the community on how best to help that family. If we understand the severity of the injury, part of our focus is to make sure that the family understand that we're not out to say he's going to be in a wheelchair or not going to be in a wheelchair. We're just out there to kind of guide them. The hardest thing about that is that we want to make sure that they understand that it's we want to hope and pray for the best, but at the same time we have to prepare for the worst. And the sooner the family gets to that point in understanding that, it's better for us to help that family in the long run. I mean, it shortens that span to be able to do the things that we need to do, because by the time the young man will be going into rehab, before you know it, he's coming back home, and there's nothing there at home for them at the house. And so, working with the family, working with that community on how best to help that family, the needs that they're going to have. Even something as simple as opening the door, widening open the door, putting ramps into the home. These are things that we don't think about. Pulling out the carpet if the home is fully carpet, to where it makes it a little bit easier to guide a wheelchair into. These are little bitty things that people don't think about. unless you've had to, go through this yourselves, people just don't understand it. And it doesn't make any difference what community you come from. No one is ever prepared for something like this. Financially, physically, and mentally, no one's ever prepared for something like this. And so where we come in to be able to guide that family, guide that community, becomes very important.
Why is there hope for these kids that are affected by this?
Well, we always say that there's hope. Hope in different ways. We've seen injuries that have had the same level that Chris has, and those young men are walking again. Faith plays a big part in what we do. We, like I said, we hope and pray for the best. And we want to make sure the families understand that it's not in our hands, it's in the Lord's hands. And so basically, we still want to make sure we have hope, because there's a lot of stuff that's being done on research now that when Chris was injured, they're doing a lot more stuff now, research-wise, which provides more hope in a sense, especially now kids that are getting injured. In this day and time, there's a lot more hope than they gave Chris when he was injured. And so, we never want to take away the hope. There's always a hope of walking again. And but the biggest part is the mental attitude. Never giving up is one of the key mottos that we have for our kids, is never give up, never quit. And the more that you can do to be a part of society and being involved with people, the better you are as an individual. And we want them to keep being involved and being involved with all the community itself. So,
if folks want to help or donate, what's the best way to do it?
they can go to our website, gridironheroes.org. Our website. We're also on Facebook. We're also on Twitter. There's a lot of, go over there and like our Facebook page. That's really important sometimes. But you can keep up with us on Facebook. But to donate, go to our website, gridironheroes.org. It's simple way to get involved. We'll have some other projects and do some different things that people can get involved with. From time to time, we'll go in one area of the state and work and do some fundraisers and things like that.
These guys are extremely active. They're very involved. They're very passionate about the cause, and it's a really good one for anybody that's involved in sports. For the Fort Worth Weekly with Eddie Canales, I'm Rush Olson.
Thank you.